Hey YouTube world. So today I'm going to be briefly reviewing and giving my opinion on the great Charles Bukowski's work of Post Office. Now, this fits into the Henry Chinaski's narrative following Ham on Rye, the first book, in which he is in his adolescence and childhood. Now, picking up from there, going into this tough boy and masculine exterior, following that into the post office in his young adulthood and later on adulthood up until he's 50, in which he worked in the post office for over 11 years. And it's a really interesting kind of fiction, I think, an interesting kind of fiction because it's real. It's real fiction, very tangibly based on Bukowski's life working in the postal office. He worked in the postal office, I believe, starting in 1950 and took some time off, then went back in 59 and worked there until 69. It's a lot of people and experiences to recount on. It's often difficult to have such a interesting and practical reflection on said experiences to be put in a fiction or a fictional persona, but Bukowski does it wonderfully. There are some problems I had with this book. I almost respect the lack of respect for every person he encounters. It's almost like they're not human, but there is some blatant racism and misogyny encrypted throughout all of the pages. But there is something authentic he is saying through the words that encapsulates the time and the experience he was going through, and thus the art itself doesn't feel like any kind of proponent of hate or division. It seems like a very artistic means of expressing emotion and what he was going through the tough times, or let's say eventful times in the post office, and seeing a lot of different women and figuring his life out. Another thing that's interesting that just came to me about this book is there's never once any mention of his family, including his parents or any relatives. It's all people he's met while in the post office or in his various life experiences. And it's just his ability to capture those weird and very absurd life moments that happen every day if you just pay attention. And it's hard to remember, but he's able to tune into that. Like, he would talk about this one person who would wait for their mail, and he would have to run to the mailbox to get the mail before Charles would get out and deliver it in the box himself. Sometimes Charles would run, or I should say Henry would run to try to put the mail away, but no, every time he would be there, take it away. And it's these little personality traits that are similarly to Salinger, posing the reader of the question, are we a part of this circus, or are we just watching it? Is the ball game happening to us as a spectator, or are we really on the benches and in the game? And it's really kind of forcing you to reconcile with that question. And he does it very simply and eloquently. He puts it all out there. And it's really not for everyone. He really does have a very rigid and hardcore style of writing that could be offensive to some, which I acknowledge. But I do think there's a lot of beauty to it, and a lot of culture in what would normally be considered low life that he's able to articulate well. And the fact that he was able to fulfill this narrative of postal office writing, I would never dare or want to read anything to do with the post office. But he starts off with the code of ethics of a post office, and I'm hooked instantly. I'm reading the code of ethics of a postal office because I want to know about this man's life. And he ends it, or one of the last sections is the notice of proposed aversive action because he was not the best worker along his years and had some warnings and disciplinary action. But he really just captivates me on every page. I'm excited to read the last book in the series, Women. And this one was great. I'll just read one section in which his humor and wit is really articulated well among the many, in which there are countless in this book. Okay. It was one of the best. I heard the water. I heard the tide going in and out. It was as if I was coming with the whole ocean. It seemed to last and last. Then I rolled off. Oh, Jesus Christ, I said. Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't know how Jesus Christ always got into such things. So just that ability to take everyday expressions and platitudes and make them interesting. We do say Jesus Christ a lot. It's kind of funny. It's kind of bizarre. Those things that require pause, he hits them right on the nose. So Bukowski, you've done it again with Post Office, and I'm excited to read more of your work. And let me know if you guys have read Post Office or anything similar. And peace and love.